Okay. So we're going to refuse to go to a party this time. Let me put myself in the right place, actually. Refuse. Sorry, maybe another time? After the move, starting school and a new job next week, I need the weekend to get ready. I need to unpack, buy textbooks, and find my classes on campus. Ah, right, how could I have forgotten? Of course you have a lot to do. Here, let me help you unpack at least. Quinn and I both stood from the couch and he picked up one of the stacked boxes on the floor. I was relieved to see he was still smiling and didn't take my refusal personally. We could go another weekend. Quinn grinned and nodded. I'd love it, but hey, I get being an introvert, and I know moving is exhausting, especially to a new town where you don't know anybody. Relief swept over me again, and I felt grateful to have Quinn as my roommate. My brother understood me, but I'd never had someone so easily accept me without criticism, judgment, or trying to fix me. Maybe Sunday you could show me around town some? I'll need to buy some things for school, and I don't know where the cafe is. Ooh, are you asking me out for a luncheon date? Quinn grinned slyly with his tease, and I blushed. I guess I am. It's a date, then. The remainder of the week passed smoothly. With Quinn's help, I finished unpacking. I visited the college campus, got a map, and figured out where all my classes would be. Saturday came quickly. Quinn left in the evening to attend one of the parties while I hung out at home to prep and relax. I dug through the school's website and made a list of what to purchase on Sunday. I cleaned and organized my tiny room to use the limited space efficiently. Since my room was so small, I wrote out my schedule and hung it and other school papers up for convenience. At 8 o'clock, there was a knock on the door. I opened it to see my brother standing there, looking exhausted. Brandon, hi? Something wrong? No, bad day. Business, nothing important. Have dinner with me, please. I felt bad for him. I was the only one he ever had to talk to casually, and I could tell he was troubled. I nodded and grabbed my coat. 20 minutes later, we were sitting in a 24-hour diner, a place my brother would normally refuse, but he was starving, and it was the first restaurant we found. We ordered food. What's bothering you? Just business. Nothing that concerns you. What? You don't talk to me about business anymore? Did Mother forbid it? He chuckled and shook his head. No, it's just unpleasant. There's a new big-name dealer in town pushing in on our territory, and we're having trouble finding him. That doesn't seem like a big deal. Normally, no. We just keep our eyes open and take the hit when we caught sight of him, but this guy... What? He's pretty bad, sis. I dug into his history. Started small time, pimping a few people, selling light drugs. At some point, he got a big name for himself and expanded business, to put it lightly. And? Brandon looked a bit disgusted. His fingers tapped on the table, a bad habit of his when he didn't know what to do, which was rare. He turned from dealer into sex trafficking and slave trading. I frowned at him, still a bit confused. Our family dabbled a little in that, though it wasn't a major part of our business. It was mainly used to punish and remove people who betrayed or harmed the family. Worse than us. The stick sells anyone, including kids. Rumor says he'll just snag kids off a fucking playground if they strike his fancy. That's horrible. And it's in our fucking territory. I know we're criminals, but goddammit, we have a reputation to maintain. I can't let people think we support this monster, or God forbid that we're working with him. Right, again, need to move. Okay. I wonder, does he truly care about the children, or is this just bad for business? If he cares, it's only because she cares. There's no other reason. Valkii would be fooling herself to believe otherwise. It always struck me as odd how important public perception was to the Mafia. It was less important today than it was historically, but it still held value. If the people in your territory liked and supported you, the cops had a harder time, so it was in the Mafia's best interest to help and protect their people, both for legal protection and recruiting. You'll find him. I know you will. I couldn't help but smile at my brother, and he smiled back. He had his problems, and no shortage of them, but it was of rare moments like these that reminded me there was a heart somewhere in there. I could see how much this bothered him. He understood that those little kids were other people's brothers and sisters, just like me, with people who loved and missed them. He knew how heartbroken he would be if I was suddenly gone, and he didn't want anyone else to feel that loss. He was capable of empathy, on rare occasions. I reached over the table and took his hand in mine, squeezing it. Once you catch him, I know you'll get those kids back. He frowned, but clasped my hand tightly. I'll try, but it's not that easy. These kids could have been shipped anywhere in the world. I have no power outside America, sister. I nodded, saddened for those he could not help. Then you'll make him pay for each and every one of them. The deadly smirk on Brandon's face brought me a strange sense of relief. You know I will. My brother and I stayed out late, catching up on life, talking about our family and the strain Brandon was under. He was suffering without me, but we had a long way to go to repair our relationship. When he dropped me off at the apartment, I had hoped that one day we could be real, normal siblings. I walked down the hallway to our apartment and was surprised to find the apartment door wide open. I knew I locked it before leaving. I tugged out my phone and prepared to call the police, but I didn't want to overreact in case Quinn just forgot to close it or was hauling in bags from his car. I cautiously stepped inside. I was relieved to see Quinn inside, but surprised to see he was not alone. A muscular man in jeans and a tank top with stringy long black hair tied in a ponytail was on top of Quinn. I couldn't tell exactly what they were doing because his back was to me and covering most of Quinn's form, but I could hear faint whispering and his arm motions suggested he was doing something sexual. I chewed on my bottom lip, my heart stinging a little and unsure what to do. I thought Quinn liked me, but I was the one who hesitated about being together. We never said we'd be exclusive or an official couple. It was selfish of me to think he would wait for me, but since he said he liked me, I just naively thought he would. Okay, this is another choice again. Let's just get rid of Brandon on this page. Let's interrupt them for the first one. The more I thought about it, the more this situation didn't make sense. Something didn't feel right. Quinn knew I was staying home tonight, so why would he bring someone over? We talked about our plans before he left. Even if he came back to an NP apartment, he should have assumed I'd be back soon. And if they were in the middle of something risque, why would they leave the front door wide open for anyone to see? We had neighbours right across the hall. As I fretted over what to do, I observed in silence and realised that Quinn wasn't moving or responding to the man. That spurred me into action. Quinn was the opposite of passive and quiet. He could be drunk and unconscious and being taken advantage of. I stepped inside and loudly slammed the door behind me to get the stranger's attention. At the sound of the door, he jumped to his feet and spun around. He was a tall man with stormy dark eyes and a chiseled jaw. His long black hair looked greasy and unkempt. Quinn remained on the couch, unconscious. Who the fuck are you? Who am I? I live here. Who are you? Live here? Bullshit. Quinn lives alone. Not anymore. I just moved in. Who are you? Name's Dion, sweet cheeks. Me and Quinny are good old friends. My gaze shifted to Quinn, limp on the couch. His eyes glazed over and his mouth hung open. His chest rose and fell slowly with each breath. He was alive and unharmed, but his mind was not present. What did you do to him? He's just partying, sweet cheeks. How about you join us? You look like you'd be some fun. The tall stranger sauntered over to me. I stepped to the side and opened the door, glaring at him. It's time for you to leave, Dion. I felt relieved when he shrugged and began walking to the door, only to jump in surprise when he slammed it shut beside me and grabbed my throat. His grip was strong and he easily lifted my small body off the ground. I kicked at him as I tugged on his fingers, trying to free myself. Listen here, missy. Little girls like you don't go making demands of big men like me. I tried to choke out a scream, but he was squeezing my windpipe too hard. My vision was going blurry. Dion took a pill from his pocket, shoved it into my mouth, and tried to push it down my throat. I had no idea what it was, but I could wager a few educated guesses based on knowledge from my childhood. Instead of swallowing it, I bit down on his fingers as hard as I could. Dion yelped with pain and slammed me against the wall before dropping me. I spat the pill across the room as I fell to my knees, choking and gasping for breath as my head spun from lack of oxygen. I needed to run, but I struggled to climb to my feet. You fucking bitch. Before I could orient myself, his knee connected with my face, breaking my nose. Pain blinded me. I toppled to the floor with a cry. I didn't have time to react or defend myself before he slammed the heel of his boot down on my face. I screamed as I felt bones break. My vision went black again as he repeated the attack. Ah, fuck. I ruined your pretty looks. God damn it. He kicked me in the stomach hard, causing me to slide backwards until I was shoved up against a wall. I was unconscious when he pulled out a knife and pressed it to my throat. Stupid. Oh, she's not gonna say that word, alright. Cute, stupid thing like you could have earned me some mad cash. Someone help. Quinn, he needs help too. Oh god, why? These are so short. These are so short. I feel fucking horrible saying no to this one, but we're getting all the endings, I guess. I shut the door silently behind me and left the apartment with a sigh, unsure of what to do at this point. I left the building, considering the idea of phoning my brother and staying in a hotel overnight. When I stepped outside, I noticed a red-haired man approaching across the parking lot with a kind smile. Good evening, mademoiselle. I'm Sebastian. You seem troubled. Is everything all right? Oh, hi, I'm Valkii. Yeah, it's fine. My roommate has a guest. Sebastian laughed as I blushed faintly. I've been there. My brother had his guests over often when we lived together. What a pain, right? Yeah, I just moved here last week. I don't really know what there is to do nearby, and it's pretty late already. There's a park nearby, a few blocks away. We could take a walk. I glanced over my shoulder to the apartment. There was no telling how long Quinn and his guest would be. I was a bit torn. This wasn't a great neighborhood and I didn't know this guy. But at the same time, I wanted to make friends and I didn't know what else to do. I wasn't comfortable going back yet. If I called Brandon, he would want to stay at the hotel with me, and he'd certainly interpret that poorly. I palmed the phone in my pocket nervously. At least I could call for help if something seemed suspicious. Okay, sure, we can do that. He cheerfully smiled as I approached, and he led the way to the park. We walked around the park casually, chatting, getting to know each other. I learned about Sebastian's siblings and freelance work. We laughed over his childhood stories about having an identical twin. When we were tired of walking, we sat down on a bench near a streetlight. I was a little anxious in the dark, but the full moon was out and the night sky was bright with stars. So, why did you move here? I moved here for college. What about you? My latest job brought me here. Doesn't happen often, but on rare occasions I do a little travel to work with a new team. Oh, will you be leaving when your job is finished? He smiled and winked at me, tossing his elbow over the back of the bench and shifting to face me. I'll stay if there's something worth staying for. I felt my cheeks warm in response to his obvious flirting. I stumbled over my words, unsure of what to say. He chuckled at my shyness. So, who's your roommate? His name is Quinn. Quinn Deirdre. Yeah, do you know him? I know of him. His tone was nervous and worried, and he was looking away from me as if there was something to hide. What? What do you know? Well, he has, a bit of a reputation. I grew a bit nervous, having only known Quinn for a week. I picked at my fingernails and tried to hide my growing anxiety. What have you heard? Maybe I shouldn't say. I've only heard gossip. I don't know what's true or false. Please tell me. I don't know anything about him, and then I came home to see him and some guy he's never even mentioned together. I'm kind of nervous, honestly. Sebastian paused for a moment with a surprised look, but then cleared his throat and looked away. The rumours I heard suggested that Quinn was once a prostitute, at various levels. My eyes widened. The idea seemed ridiculous, but I couldn't exactly argue against it since I barely knew Quinn. I suspected it was a massive exaggeration since he confessed that he played around often. Various levels? I don't understand. Sebastian awkwardly forced a chuckle, his cheeks faintly blushing. My brother used to acquire such services on occasion. There are, I don't know how to say this without sounding like a judgmental pervert, I'm sorry. There are class levels of prostitutes. You know, there are inexpensive streetwalkers, high-end escorts, and a lot in between for all genders. And you're saying Quinn did all of them? That's what I heard. Sebastian isn't the gossiping type. I agree, he knows more than he's letting on. I chewed on my bottom lip. I told myself if this was true, it was in the past, probably many years ago, or it could just be a massively exaggerated rumor. I don't believe it, but even if it's true, that's not my business. It doesn't make him a bad person. For just a brief second, Sebastian looked both surprised and annoyed by my words, but a gentle smile replaced the expression. You have a kind heart, darling. While I believed everything I said, I still felt uncomfortable knowing this rumor. I shifted awkwardly in my seat and stared down at the ground, wondering about that man in our apartment. That kind of thing, it's involved in a lot of other crime, isn't it? Sebastian nodded his head, eyes watching me closely. Often, yes. Drugs, abuse, robbery, blackmail, extortion, and murder. I flinched at the word murder and nausea struck. I tried to shake the idea away. I believed Quinn was a good person. Even if he had a troubled past, that meant nothing. I'd be a hypocrite to judge him, given my own past. I didn't want to continue this conversation anymore. I sighed. Let's talk about something more pleasant. Of course. I returned home roughly an hour later to see our door left wide open again, which disturbed me even more than before. Quinn had a habit of leaving the door unlocked, but never open. When I entered the apartment, I found no sign of Quinn or his mystery partner. The place was just the way we left it, except my bedroom door was also wide open. I always closed my door. Why would they have opened it? Was Quinn's guest surprised to discover a roommate? I looked around but saw no signs of theft, not that I had anything valuable worth stealing. Quinn didn't return the next day. I started my college classes and the job at Cafe Luna. I met a guy named Julian who knew Quinn. He claimed due to Quinn's partying nature, it wouldn't surprise him if he went off on a multi-day bender and didn't seem worried. I had no idea if Quinn would do such a thing, so I trusted Julian's judgment. I called Quinn's cell phone repeatedly. Eventually, the line was no longer available. Julian said that happened if someone was out of cell service. It was concerning, but not necessarily a cause for alarm. On the third day, with no sign of Quinn, I went to the police to report him as missing, wishing I had done it sooner. I told the cops about the black-haired stranger, too. But I had no information about Quinn, where he lived, where he worked, or family contacts. Julian knew Quinn had a big family, but not where they were located or contact information. On day 5, the police had found nothing. I called my brother and asked for his help. He was annoyed by the request, but said he would have some of his men look into it as a favor. 2 more days passed without news. Even Julian was worried. I was working at Cafe Luna when I heard him curse loudly from the break room. Concerned, I rushed back there to see Julian and other co-workers gathered around the television watching a news program. What's going on? Valkii, shit, I looked up to the television just as Quinn's picture displayed as a news reporter talked, except the picture didn't look much like the Quinn I knew at all. In the photo, Quinn was very young. His hair was a honey blonde color and he wore no makeup. If it wasn't for his soulful, bright blue eyes, I wouldn't recognize him. As I stared at the picture, the voiceover described a gruesome scene where 2 unnamed men found a sexually assaulted and mutilated body in the forest, half buried in mud. The autopsy determined numerous drugs in the victim's system and many wounds. The word torture was used. Police suspected the victim had been held prisoner for days before their life ended. DNA of multiple aggressors was found on the body, and one of them was from a known, infamous sex trafficker with an outstanding warrant. My knees grew weak and I nearly collapsed to the ground, but Julian caught me and snapped at a co-worker to turn the television off. I don't understand. What happened? Quinn, is he... I'm sorry, Valkii. He was murdered. Who? Who could have... I don't know. They're looking for someone named Dion. Some beefy asshole with black hair. I lost all the strength of my body, and the world grew black around me. Julian sat on the floor with me, holding me against his body. The man I saw hovering over Quinn matched that description. I walked in on Quinn and his murderer, and that man was the sex trafficker my brother was searching for. The 2 men who found Quinn were probably sent by my brother at my request. My mind fixated on the fact that Quinn was kidnapped while I had dinner with my brother and talked to a stranger in the park, completely focused on myself and my own discomfort. I never considered Quinn was in danger. I turned my back on Quinn. I let Quinn die. I walked away when he needed me the most. So sorry, Quinn. Alright. Another shorter one, but we're going to the opposite side of the chart now. So, should be longer? I don't know. This seems like, again, super fucking short. I assumed this would be long, but I guess not. So see you next time.